It is in your strong, mighty, majestic, marvelous Son, name of Jesus. And all the people of God said together, amen. Come on, let's give God another hand clap of praise. Brief word, I'm going to cut all the way through this one. God has already done something amazing in this place. So I thank him for doing that. It made mine much easier that I have to do. Very quickly. The word of the Lord today comes to us out of the book of 1 Samuel, the 17th chapter, verse 57. It's actually 2 chapters, going over to 18th chapter and ending with verse number 9. Here's what it says. As soon as David returned from killing the Philistines, Abner took him and brought him before Saul. And David stood holding the Philistine's head. Whose son are you, young man? Saul asked David. David said, I am the son of your servant Jesse's son. I'll do it like this. As I begin to read that 58th verse, it confused me. It confused me because this is not the first occasion in which David had met Saul. So to ask, who are you, was literally breathtaking to me. It showed me something. It showed me, watch this, that though David had been at the court formerly, yet having been for some time absent, Saul had forgotten who he was. Watch this. And he definitely did not think that his musician would have spirit enough to be his champion. He looked at this and said, who you, bruh? David says, not I am the champion, not that I am so awesome. David says, I'm the servant, the son of your servant Jesse. I work from there. I'm the son of your servant Jesse. When I look at this text, it says so much. He enters this place as a champion. He walks in this place as this phenomenal champion, not needing to be validated, because he walks in carrying the head of what he fought. So he don't need accolades. He don't need cheerleading sections. He walked in with victory in his hand, and he stands before Saul. And Saul looks at him and says, man, who are you? Little did what Saul know was who was standing in front of him was much more than what he saw. Sometimes there will be moments where people will look at you and judge you by what they see and not recognize who you are. There'll be moments that you will look like victory, but they don't know where you come from. David now is standing as champion. He's celebrated. First service, I preached this from the standpoint of somebody's watching. This service, I just want to simply say, finish it, bruh. David is sitting here. As he's sitting here, standing as the champion, Saul, the envious one of him, can't even recognize. He's sitting here with people giving accolades because Saul is having a problem right now, because when David went on his parade of showing everybody else that I was able to do what I told you I was going to do, and Israel has no reason to serve any other God, as he parades his way through, David goes with his proof in his hand. And he walks up, and the women start hollering and dancing and start saying, oh my gosh, look at David. Saul slayed his 1,000. But David, whoo, he slayed 10,000s, boo-boo. David is looking like the champion. The armies are celebrating him. Because when Saul saw it was in his hand, it gave Saul permission then to elevate him. Because I'm not trying to see if you can do it, but boy, you've proven the point that you are a true warrior. And so now his victory gets him new position. He's placed now in a higher level than what he was. So now the fellow military brothers, they happy about him too. Everybody's celebrating. David's been celebrated by the women. He's been celebrated by the militaries. He's even being honored by Saul. But what they did not recognize was how he got to where he is. He is in this position not because of his formal trainings. He is here because he was rejected enough to find a way. What do you do when God elevates you not through precious promises? Hang that phone up. But what do you do when God elevates you through persecution, problems, rejection? It's amazing to me how we want to tell God how to get there. Watch, we're comfortable with God as long as we can manipulate the methods in which he raises us. We satisfied with it. We can deal with God as long as we know what God is doing and how God is doing it. As long as God's plans meets our methods, we're comfortable. But the moment that God does something that is not on our radar, the moment our mental and spiritual GPS says recalculating, we start to become very fearful. And we start wondering what's going on. Watch. It wasn't too long ago, because David defeats this giant as a young man. So it wasn't that long ago that he was out there on the backside playing by himself. Wasn't that long ago that he was despised and rejected. It wasn't that long ago that nobody wanted to deal with him. It wasn't that long ago that he was looked over. Wasn't that long ago that people said, no, not that little cute little redhead boy. It wasn't that long ago that we saw these things in David. But now we all praising him. Now we all excited. Now we all happy because David looks like a champion. Can I tell you right now that God is going to put you in some positions where it's going to look like rejection, but you got to understand that the rejection is not rejection. The rejection is preparation. Matter of fact, come on, don't talk to a neighbor. This is for you. Tap yourself on the chest and tell yourself, say, every sense of rejection still works for my good. Every time I've been turned down, every time I did not qualify, every time they didn't want me, every time I didn't fit in, every time I was left out, every time the door closed, every time I wasn't hired, every time I was dropped, every time they broke up with me, everything that has ever been rejection has all been part of my process of increase. It amazes me that at the top of the year, we start out the year so excited. December 31st, man, you can feel it all in the atmosphere that everybody's getting crunk for what's about to take place. It's about to be a new year, as if a calendar changes a condition. We all so motivated. Oh my gosh, what? I'm waking up today. Wow, it's 31st. What you mean? Last year, 2019. 2020 gonna be it. And I've heard all the fellas and the brothers and all of them, and I may use some of it, that talk about 2020 as a year of clear vision. It sounds good. And we go through all those things and we get all excited about 2020, and we get all excited for the new years. We get all uplifted about this, and it's still just another day. And it bothers me because we walk into this new year, the believers, We walk into this new year so excited about what God's going to do. If you ever want to find some faithful and some God-fearing people, look at January the 1st. They believe in God like never before. I see the wall, but I see us crossing it, Pastor. I see God going to do something miraculous, Pastor. Oh, did he slay me? Yep, will I trust him on the 1st? Come back on the 3rd, huh? All of my appointed days, I ain't know God. I'm saying to you that we go through all these things, and here's what God showed me. He says, Derek, I want you to tell the Experience Christian Center that before this year is out, everything that was promised is going to be released. Before this year is out, watch this. Here becomes my problem. My problem is not what God says. My problem is how we respond. I'm not talking about you clapping right now, because your clap is good for here, but this is all people that believe. But your response got to be right when you get out there. You got to start acting like you believe that what God said is going to take place, and stop being so schizophrenic in your behaviors and allowing any and everything to move you from pillar to post, and you now all around the place and don't understand what God is doing in your life because of the fact that you refuse to believe him when it was not comfortable. And I'm telling you now that the word that comes to you from God is not for comfort. The word that comes to you from God is to get you through conditions. And as you get through the conditions, as you're trusting God, you begin to see God do amazing things in your life. And you got to be determined that though they slay me, yet, meaning in spite of it all, in spite of what's going, in spite of what's happening, in spite of what it is, I'm still going to trust you. Why? Because I understand that God is a rewarder to them that what? Diligently. Here becomes a problem. Why do you look different today than you did on the 1st? What happened? Did he change his verbiage? Or did you change your belief? What happened? What happened? I'm going somewhere. I promise you I'm going to be out quick because the Cowboys play today. And what happens when you're going through situations, circumstances, and it just ain't comfortable no more? Does it change who he is? Or do you change who you are? When it ain't like you wanted it, when it ain't like you dreamed it, does it change who he is, or does it change who you are? David goes through all these things. As he goes through these things, we find that he's not in this rough place. This rough place that he is in a victorious place, but he didn't see what was coming. What was coming was, in the 18th chapter, you begin to find that Saul begins to identify with who he is. Hears the praises of the people that's singing it. As he hears those praises going forth, he now becomes intimidated by David's success. Can I tell you that while you want to be successful, you got to also get ready for people that will have a problem with you being successful, which means that they're going to be intimidated, and they can't tell nobody they're intimidated. So what they do is they hate on your success because they can't tell nobody they're intimidated. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It's in your circle. The people that's player hating on somebody else is actually saying without saying, I'm intimidated by their success because I really don't believe it could ever be for me. And since it can't be for me, I got to talk about theirs because I can't talk about mine because I don't see mine, but I see theirs. And so now I got a problem with what they're doing. Watch me. We find here that something begins to happen. Saul sees this, and when he sees this, he gets intimidated. Deacon Lawrence, he gets so intimidated that he even makes a statement. My eyes, they're going to be on you. I'm going to keep watching out for you. Watch this. Now, here's what messes me up. What messes me up with the text is the fact that Saul is king. He's supposed to be responsible for the safety of Israel. He's supposed to be responsible for covering Israel. He's supposed to be the head negress in charge that shows up and shows out whenever danger lurks over his country. But here's the problem. The problem is Saul is afraid of confrontation. He's afraid of Goliath. When he saw him, he thought of every excuse possible not to be involved. And so what happens is God sees that what's on the line. He sees that the fate and the worship of Israel is on the line. Because Goliath didn't necessarily want their land. He wanted them to have his God. God sees this and says, no. Since the one that I have won't do it, I'll raise another one that will. Watch me. What happens now is Saul is still king, but David is champion. Saul is king. David, though, is champion. Him being champion ain't got nothing to do with him being king. Him being the champion ain't got nothing to do with Saul still being the king. Here's what God showed me. God showed me that you got to stop being so small in your mentality that when he sends you divine advantages, that you can deal with people who have what you don't have and still be who you are. You got to get to the place where you don't have to make all the money, but because all the money is made, you still good to go. Y'all ain't talking to me. Every husband in the house should open your mouth and holler right there, because you got to get comfortable saying, you know what, I may not make the most money, but if it come in my house, it's still my money, and since it's still my money, it's our money, and so that means that we got money. It amazes me how many men get so comfortable, and how many men are so full of pride that you can't celebrate that your house just got better. Y'all ain't gonna talk to me on that one. Ladies, come on, help me out on this one. It amazes me how you can see so much increase going on, but the prideful issue of us says, I'd rather us struggle than let you be great. Saul is having a problem. The problem that Saul is having is, we're being great, I just didn't do it. We are doing a phenomenal job. I just can't take credit for doing it. Now, I can take credit for it being still my kingdom. I can still take credit for it being my house. I can still take credit for it being my territory, but I can't take credit for what he's done. Can I just tell you right now? Because some of you are worried about how 2019 is going to end because you don't have the capabilities to do what you need. Some of you are nervous because you saw the promise, but you know your results. You know good and well that you don't have the capabilities to perform what God has spoken over you, and you're worried. Can I ease your nerves? I want to ease your nerves by letting you know that God says he already knew that you didn't have the ability to do it, so he divinely gave you an advantage through somebody else. Y'all missing me? He divinely gave you the advantage through somebody else. God gave strength to somebody else to do what you couldn't do. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, say, God gave strength to somebody else. When you understand this, you then have to be careful in how you treat people in this season. You got to be careful because you don't know who God is sending your way to do what you couldn't do. You got to be careful. Look at your neighbor, tell your neighbor, I got to be kind to everybody. Tell them, because I don't know where my blessing coming from. I got to be nice to everybody. I don't know who's going to do it. I got to be friendly to everybody because I don't know who God is going to use, who God is going to prick their heart. And I don't need somebody fighting against God and fighting against me at the same time because I did something wrong when I had the opportunity to be right with them. I'm almost done because you look like you're bored. Watch me. Something happens here. He now begins to see an advantage. Something happens. This advantage says, we're winning, Saul. You don't have to worship the Philistines' God. Saul, be comfortable. Saul's problem is that he viewed David as being the GOAT. Y'all missed that. Saul's problem, all my sports fans, you know what I'm talking about. He had a problem because it looked like Saul was great, but he wasn't the greatest of all times. He wasn't the GOAT. There's many discussions about who is the GOAT. Some say the GOAT is Bill Russell. Some says the GOAT is Bill Russell. You know Bill Russell, 11-time NBA champion. One of the greatest ones to ever play the game. Matter of fact, the MVP award is named after Bill Russell. Some say Bill Russell's the GOAT, when then others that's in my generation say that the GOAT is who? Michael Jordan. Some say that Michael Jordan is the GOAT. Call it what you want. 6-time NBA champion. The only person to come through the league to name their shoes and then get their own brand. and now football teams wearing his clothes. Some say that Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time, didn't have to jump to another team to still be a great champion. Some say that Michael Jordan is the greatest of all times, but then you got another generation that comes along and says, no, this dude on the West Coast by the name of Kobe Bryant. Some think that Kobe is the greatest of all time, and yeah, he got 5 championships. He got 5. Look at what's happening. It's de-escalating every time. He got 5 championships. And some think that Kobe is the greatest of all time, the Black Mamba. He got this killer instincts flowing through his veins. But then some of y'all foolish people say that the greatest of all times is little Bron James. 3 championships. 3 teams. He did change free agency. The way that scored 3 times, 4 times, 3 times. He changed it. Watch this. So some say that LeBron James is the greatest of all times. But here is what's amazing to me, Elder Shirley. What's amazing to me, and I knew I had to structure it this way today because of the fact that I was dealing with youth today as well. What's the greatest of all times is not also recognizing that everyone that we just called great went through a major season of rejection. Follow me, I'm done. Bill Russell, greatest of all time, but he came into the league during the time of segregation. They was mad at him. They talked bad about him. Sometimes he couldn't even stay with his team. Great rejection. Thank you, Tavares. Great rejection. I forgot what I was going to say. Great rejection. And then even when we look at Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan is phenomenal. Air Jordan. But his sophomore year of high school, somebody was crazy enough to cut him off the team. Somebody had authority with no wisdom. Y'all missed that. Somebody cut him off of a team because they couldn't see beyond his placement to see what was getting ready to take place in his life. And somebody in here ought to get excited because of the fact that somebody can't see beyond where you are right now to really tap into what you're about to become. Let me walk. But then we got Kobe Bryant. Because of the fact that y'all don't know the draft, you think that he was only a Laker, not recognizing that Kobe was drafted and quickly exchanged to the Lakers. Charlotte Hornet couldn't see the potential, so they never won a championship because they couldn't see the potential. Charlotte Hornet traded him, watch this, for Vlade Divac. Y'all don't even know who he is. They traded him for Vlade Divac to the Charlotte Hornets because they couldn't see his potential. Kobe was rejected. And then we turn around and we got little Bron James. You like that name? Little Bron. Little Bron James. Little Bron James is still trying to figure out who really is his father. His father never ever really showed up. It's been rumored about 3 different guys. Which one might be his dad? And all of them want to claim him now because he's arrived, but nobody wanted to claim him when he was building up. And even though I'm not a fan of LeBron James, let me just say this. I am a tremendous fan of his work as a man. Watch. But LeBron James too, he experienced rejection. So when we talk about the GOAT is not about how you win. The GOAT is about how you endure. When we talk about the GOAT, now watch this, when we talk about the GOAT, because here becomes the problem. The problem is that Saul is elected to be their leader. They want him. They requested him. David is prophesied to be their leader. Y'all missing me. And And so now Saul is having a problem because of the fact that the people have laid their mouth now on David, even after God had already spoken over him. And so now he's having a problem with who's the real GOAT here, who's the real GOAT here, who's the greatest of all time here. And the reality is, Saul, you stepped over your territory. Because here you go thinking that you are the greatest of all time, and you discounted that you nor David is the real GOAT. The real GOAT is named Jesus. For Jesus is the greatest of all time because he gave life to everybody. I need somebody in this house right now to open your mouth and celebrate the real GOAT. I'm done. Sit. What am I saying to you? I'm telling you, this year is going to end like you thought. Jesus was rejected. When he was born, they tried to kill him. They plotted out to destroy him. They were seeking for ways to trap him and to make sure that he never fulfilled what he was called to do. They didn't want the GOAT to show up. He's on the cross. They're laughing because we have defeated the GOAT. They're excited when they stab him in his side because we have defeated the GOAT. You thought you was gonna win, but you couldn't win. The one thing that all four of the men that we talked about on the screens have in common is they found ways to win. I'm saying to you that God sent me to tell you that you are the real GOAT. You are the greatest of all times, being you. And I don't care how they try to dress it up. I don't care what garments they try to put on that match you. I don't care if they get the same tracks that you bought from the same beautician before you got yours done. They can never be who you are because you are the GOAT. You are the greatest of all times at what God has called for you to do. And the only thing that's separating you is you got to make sure that you got the same type of will to win, even when it looks like you're in losing situations. And you got to tell yourself, in spite of all that I'm dealing with, in spite of all that I'm going through, in spite of all that I'm suffering with, in spite of all the rejection, in spite of all the hurt, in spite of all the pain, I have chosen today to believe the report that the Lord had to say over my life. And the way that God spoke to me in January is the same thing that God's gonna do for me in December, because I speak right now that something is about to break over my life. I shall be who God says I am. I shall do what God says I can do. I shall manifest what God says I shall have, because I am the greatest of all time. I'm done. All I'm saying to you is stop being rattled. You're great. Greatness don't come from benefits. It comes from pain. It comes from travailing. It comes from never giving up. It comes from always seeking a better way. And I don't know who I came to talk to, and I don't have to shout you because you already shouted. But I want you to understand that God sent me to tell you. He sent me to tell you to watch this. That before this year is out, come on, Ecclesiastes. Before this year ends, it will not end the way that it started. But everything I spoke, I'm going to perform. Everything I spoke, I'm going to do. Everything I spoke, I'm going to manifest. Everything I spoke, I'm going to release. Everything I spoke, I'm going to show you. You're going to be the recipient of everything I showed you. And all you got to do is do like the word says, trust in the Lord with all thy heart and lean not to your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. I'm done. Here's the appeal. The appeal today is simply this. I'm tired, God, and I feel like I can't finish. And all I'm asking for today, God, is strength. I'm weary. I'm worn. I've been rejected. I've been turned down. I've been let down. Sometimes God ain't even been their fault. It's been my fault. I didn't put certain things in place that I could receive the benefit of what you had for me when it was time for it to be released. But I'm tired. I'm frustrated. If I'm talking to you today, quickly, come. Come quickly. If I'm talking to you today, come quickly. Come and lift your hands. I'm tired, God. I'm tired.